Hey everyone, I have a real quick kind of odd video for you guys today. And I say odd just because it's a different type of video for me. I've never done one like this before. And what it is the other day I was curious, I was thinking about all of the books that I have, and I was thinking about all the different genres that I have, and how, I don't know, just what I kind of gravitate more towards reading and everything. And so I decided to do a genre inventory thing, where I basically have counted, since I just redid my bookshelves, which I don't think I posted a video about that. I should probably do that before I post this one. But I reordered all of my bookshelves back in genre order. So then once I did that, last night I went and I counted each of the books in each of the genres, and I made a list, and then I added all the numbers up to do the total so that I could then divide, figure out what percentage each genre number was of my total. So, I just thought it was really interesting and wanted to share it with you guys. And this is my inventory for all of my unread books, not any of my read books, because those are already read. So, I don't know. I was more curious about all of my unread books than the ones I'd already read. So, let's get started on this, shall we? Okay, so I have my little handy-dandy notebook here, which is very messy handwriting. But, for mystery, I have 34 books out of 374, so that was about 9%. And then for, originally I did sci-fi and fantasy as one genre, and then I was like, no, I really want to do them as two based on all the separate genres that I did after that. So I did, for fantasy, I had 46 out of 374, so that's about 12.3%. And then for poetry, I have 11 poetry collections, and with those, I only did the ones that are not my really, really old poetry books that I want to read but probably won't because they're so fragile. So I just did my newer poetry collections, and for those I have 11 out of 374, which is about 2.9%. And then I have 19 plays, so that's about 5%. And then I only have 2 short story collections, so that's 0.05%, or I guess 0.5%, I don't know. It's less than, it's half of a percent, basically. And then for kids lit, I have 39 children's literature books, which is 10.4%. And then I have 27 young adult teen, which is 7.2%. 49 classics, which is 13%. 26 modern classics, which is 6.9%. 40 nonfiction, which is 10.6%. 11 graphic novels and manga, which is also 2.9%, same as the poetry collections. And in that, I didn't include any of my single issues, because I probably have some single issues where they're all in the same story arc, so they probably would equal a graphic novel if I added them all up together, but that's too much detail, so I didn't do that. And then I have 18 historical fiction books, which is 4.8%. 47 general fiction, which is 12.6%, and then 5 science fiction books, which is 1.3%. So I would say that, the lower percentages are definitely, as you guys heard, the poetry and the graphic novels and manga, and then also plays, which is kind of sad. I feel like I should have more plays. And then I'm actually really happy that I have such a low percentage of young adult and teen books just because it is something that I feel like I'm growing out of, so the idea that I don't have as many of those that I own to read is good. And I think from now on what I'm going to do with those is, instead of purchasing young adult books, unless they're books in a series that I already know that I like, that I know I'll want to keep and pass on to my own kids, I think from now on I'm going to get young adult books strictly out of the library rather than buying them. And then I feel like I need more sci-fi. Like, 5 sci-fi is just kind of pathetic. And short story collections, I also don't mind having a lower percentage of those, because those are harder for me to get through. It took me, I think, at least a year to get through my Miss Marple collection, and granted, 6 months of that was due to it being loaned out to my grandmother, but I don't like taking that long to get through a book. And with short stories, that's just how I am. I can't, like, when I try to read short stories really quickly, it just doesn't work unless it's, you know, like one of the Poirot short story collections where I'm listening to the audio, so then I just listen to one of those every day, and then that ends up being very quick. But with the Miss Marple ones, I didn't have an audiobook option, so it was a very slow-going process. So yeah, with short story collections, I'd like to have a few more, but I know how I am with them. Like, one of these collections has about 100 stories in it, so I know it's going to take me at least a year to read it. It's really big, so I know that's going to take me a while. And then, yeah, I'd say, like, looking at all of these numbers, I feel like that generally, says how I feel about certain genres. Like, I love classics probably most of all. Like, honestly, if you add it up, like, I kind of separated all of these genres, but if you do, or like all of the classic, I sort of separated those, but honestly, a lot of people would group plays and poetry collections and classical novels and, like, the modern classics all in the same group. And also, 4 of my mystery books were the Sherlock Holmes collection that I have, and a lot of people would put those in classic rather than mystery. So, like, if I grouped all those together, I think I did that, and I crunched the numbers last night, and that was over a third, or, like, nearly a third. I think it was, like, 30% of my overall collection, if you added up all of the individual genres with, like, if you add up the plays and the poetry and the classic and modern classic and then the Sherlock Holmes, it ended up being something like 112 or 113 out of 374. So, yeah, I would say that generally says how I feel about certain genres, and I'm cool with it, because I don't know, this is just really interesting to me, because it kind of just divides up, like, in my head there's this pie chart, and it's like what my reading personality is, and it's made of this pie chart. So, yeah, and this was very interesting to me, just because I've never done anything like this before. Like, I've never kind of tried to gauge what percentage of a certain genre I like to read. So, yeah. Okay, so this went on for a little too long for me just talking about taking inventory, but, yes, so those are my percentages. I would love to know if you guys are, like, a little bit surprised, or, like, based on the things I talk about, if you guys would have suspected this. And also, I would love to know, what you guys, like, if any of you kind of do the same thing, where you sort of calculate how much of a certain genre you usually read, or anything like that. I know I do follow a few booktubers who do that kind of every month, where they talk about, like, oh, this month I read this percentage of male authors and this percentage of female authors, and I read this percentage of mystery and this percentage of nonfiction, and some people even do it as far as, they even break it down to format. Like, they say I read 3 audiobooks and 5 paperbacks and 6 hardcovers and 3 ebooks, like stuff like that. So yeah, I would just love to know if you guys do that and what your thoughts are and everything. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.